Welcome back to another episode of STL Real Estate Roundtable. I'm your host, Jaden Barr, CEO and team leader of Keller Williams Realty Chesterfield. And today I'm joined by two very special guests, Ashley Beckman and Giselle Mera. Hello. Thank you so much. In unison already. Look at this. Are you going to answer every question?
Maybe.
In unison?
If we start kicking each other, you know why.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Well, I'm excited to dive in. What got you interested in a career in real estate? I'll let whoever wants to go first.
We kind of have opposite answers on that. So I was a bartender. I came from restaurant life, working 3 a.m., all that. And it was good money, but I was like, I need to change a pace. I need something a little bit more stable. But corporate life is not for me. Never has been. I'm not one of those people. So real estate was kind of like a happy medium. I knew I was a people person. So it was like, let's lean into that. And then it worked out.
Cool.
Yeah.
What bar did you work at?
Oh, I was on a Wash Ave for a little bit. And then I was at Molly's in Soulard. Okay. So Molly's is a wild time. If you know, you know. Yeah.
Awesome. How about you?
I was deep in corporate. I was in corporate for 10 years. The grind is real. I was very unhappy. None of it made sense anymore. And even when I was there, I got my master's degree. Didn't really help me the way I thought it would in terms of getting out of the unhappy place in corporate. I thought that would evolve into something a little nicer, and it didn't. And so I honestly quit. I didn't even have another job lined up. I was just over it. And I took that time to reassess what my future would look like. So this is almost 10 years ago because I was 30 when I made that move. Mm-hmm. And then someone was talking to me about real estate, and I had never had a commission job before. So I was very nervous, very reluctant. And I took plenty of time before I'm like, you know what, let's give it a shot. And then I just hit the ground really hard. And Ashley and I actually met on that team. And the rest is really history from there. We connected right away, and then we evolved. We decided to break away from there. Then we started our own thing. And then from there, we kept evolving, and we decided, well, what are we doing? Like, why don't we get our broker's license and do our own thing? And then we evolved into that while we had newborns and getting married, and we lived lifetimes together, it feels like.
I know.
And now our newest endeavor was opening up our independent brokerage here in St. Louis, which is by far something I never imagined that we could get to this level so quickly.
Yeah, looking back 10 years ago, to think like when we met there, if you said, oh, in 10 years you'd be here, I would have laughed at you, you know,
personally and professionally.
Yes. Yeah, big time.
Yeah.
Big time.
Yeah. What's the saying? You overestimate what you can accomplish in 1 year, but underestimate what you can accomplish in 5.
100%.
Right?
If you would have told me that when I was in the middle of my heavy duty pregnancy, chasing around a toddler, getting my broker's license and opening a brokerage. And then literally we opened it, and a couple weeks later, I went on maternity leave and was just like, bye. Like, no, I would have never thought I could do that. But it worked out. You know, it's worth it. Yeah.
Yeah. So what do you see from your previous work experience? Like, how does that translate to real estate? Like, what are some of the skill sets and things that you learned from your previous work? Mm-hmm. And how has that played a role in the business that you built?
That the money doesn't matter in terms of the type of client. If your client is selling a $100,000 house or a $2 million house, they just need your attention. They need to be heard, and they need to know that you're on their side and you're not looking at them with just a dollar sign. And we're very empathetic to our clients because this is something people only do a couple times in their lifetime. And then they have other people that are talking to them, but we know what's happening right now on the pulse of the market on so many different levels. You understand that you're never just talking to one person. You're talking to family members. You're talking to their friends. You're talking with their therapist, saying, like, you're really...
Well, I think we humanize the situation.
Yeah.
You know, it's very easy to get caught up in the numbers and the scary side of it. So I think her coming from banking and just having to listen to people talk every day and the stresses of that. And then I had to listen to people, you know, just bury their sorrows in a beer. But you listen. And I think that is the biggest thing, is you're not like a price tag to us. We actually listen to your problems, because most sales come with some problems, some pain points, you know. And I think if you can help people work through that without losing their mind, they really respect you. And then from that comes repeat business and referrals.
Yeah.
So consistency.
Business is pretty simple when you break it down, right?
Yeah.
About relationships.
It's about people, right. You know?
Yeah. Every podcast, I kind of try to ask some different questions and make the podcast sound a little different. So it's not the same thing over and over. But what I found in having like awesome agents on the podcast is it's really, really simple, right? A lot of people have the same answers to the questions.
I feel like the good agents understand that because like we can handle challenges. We learn, we're like, we've been through 3 maternity leaves with our business, handling that. We've been through the pandemic, what brought on with the pandemic, all the new agents, the herd of them and things like that. And the most consistent thing is just communication. You know a good agent when you're working with one and you know when they're not one.
Yeah, you talked about like humanizing the process and of buying or selling a home. Like I think my wife and I just went through that. Like, right, we bought a house last year, and whenever we were writing the offer, I was like asking myself the same questions that my clients ask, and I'm like, it's a little different being on this side.
Isn't it?
This side of it, right?
We did a double move in 2020, and it was like, okay, I know we're going to get more for our house, but let's not be outrageous, and understand the reality of what our house is. But then also we had to write the offer on the back end. Like I waived my commission to get our house.
Yeah. Just kind of puts things into perspective. You're like, oh yeah, okay, this is what they're feeling.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I understand the stress now. Okay.
So talk to me about, you've built an impressive business. What have been some of the keys to the success over the years?
Consistency, I think, is huge. We really pride ourselves on just being ourselves. I think that is huge. Like you're never going to see a video of us online or something and then get a different experience when you meet us in person. Like we are who we are, take it at face value. I think if we're the people for you, great. If we're not, we wish you best of luck, but I think consistency and people appreciate that.
Yeah, and we're both local from St. Louis too, so I think that we've met so many different people in so many different aspects, whether it's from elementary school, high school, undergrad, grad school, then different jobs that we've had.
Favorite restaurants. Leads from our favorite restaurant people.
Language, food.
Yes. She'll go to a restaurant and just like meet people and be like, I got to lead. And I'm like, what? And she's like, yeah, they thought me and my husband were cute. I'm like, what? Like
that's awesome.
Yeah. So
okay, so while we're on the topic of food, like give me some of your top 3.
Oh man, Louis on Demand.
Okay.
Brick Tops. And I do like Annie Guns too. But it also depends what you want to go for because we have a lot of good Asian food
mood are you
too.
Yeah, we're big fans of we're like, oh, what's that new coffee shop? Let's go have our meeting there today. Yeah. That is kind of the glory of like our industry is we're like, where do we want to work today? So we're like, how hungry are we? Do we want to eat? Ooh, okay.
Wait, how much food do we want to eat?
Right.
You want a real meal or
we're like, we're talking tacos or are we talking pasta? So that's a common thing. We're like, what are we in the mood for? So yeah, I don't think I can narrow it down to 3. I'll be honest with you. Ask me what my mood is that day.
There you go. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Do you have anything to add on keys to success over the years?
Honestly, consistency is really big and honestly just showing up. And it's not just for showing up when you get hired. It's after the fact when your clients reach out to you a year later, 5 years later with like, hey, this is going on with the house. And we'll be like, here you go. Here's 3 people for that. Let me know if you want me to make the calls for you and I'll schedule it for you. Like you have us forever. It's not just for that moment. And I think over the years, people have seen that we truly stand by our statement and we keep getting repeat. Even this morning, we had calls come from past clients from 3 years ago. And I got 2 phone calls this morning like, hey, by the way, they referred us to you. We've already interviewed a few other people, but da-da-da. And I was like, awesome. So it feels good because I know we're doing it right and believing in how we do it and our clients see it too. And that speaks volumes and lets me sleep at night.
Yeah.
You're adding value after the transaction.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. I mean,
you think so?
I think so. I mean, we were just talking about like prime example in the last couple of weeks, we had one client who had a roof leak because all the snow melted, everything we got. And I was like, oh my God. Okay. So we were talking through that about getting a roofer out there, what was covered under their home warranty that we ordered or what wasn't. Another one was, hey, we know we bought with you 3 years ago, but we're having our first baby. Do you have a good company to clean out our air ducts? I was like, yeah, I got you, sent them a referral. Like little things like that come up all the time. And I think that's where we really show up for our clients because we don't just ignore you after a transaction.
Yeah. And you're both so personable, right? I think you show that on social media. You mentioned like being the same in person.
Right.
When you do meet people for a consult, like they're getting exactly what they see on social, which I love your social media, by the way.
Thank you.
Thanks.
So what, take me through that process of like, whenever you were deciding to go all in with social media and share more of a personable side.
I mean,
with that approach.
I think it kind of does go hand in hand with us like starting the brokerage too, we're like, our business comes from us at the end of the day. Like we need to rely on ourselves. We can't rely, like it's not the 90s anymore. You know, people don't walk into a brokerage and work with you because you're there. So we're like, that's our brand. We got to build our brand. To be honest, social media is free for the most part. We do pay for our quality videos now. And we've gotten such a good response from that from people. Like people are like, hey, I saw your video, liked it. Hey, saw your video. And we're like, oh, okay. Our reach is a little bit bigger than we thought, you know, it all just plays hand in hand. So we're really leaning into that. And you can track it on there. You can track like what gender is into me. Yes. Like what age groups, things like that. So we can even, depending on what we're posting, we know what group exactly we're going to. It's not just knocking on a stranger's door, you know?
Right.
Yeah. It's been huge.
Yeah. Social media is such an interesting topic with realtors because I think everybody wants to do it, but you know, some agents aren't comfortable on camera. And I tell some agents like, hey, you can be on social media without having your face or having to talk. Like, you know, that's your first impression with people whenever they.
You can just do videos walking in the front door of every listing, you know, like everywhere you go. You don't have to have your face. So I think, people.
But some people are more, like you, for example, are more naturally comfortable putting your face on there and just like, I'm walking through this house and you're all up in the business. Where me, I'm more like, look at the house, but like I'm not in the video. I'm like,
I mean, I think I do. I've leaned more into like, I'd say the raw side of it. Like I'll go under no hair, no makeup because that's how I show up for showings sometimes. It's just the reality of it. Like if you want a stiletto realtor, I am not the one for you. I'm going to show up in like my dunks or my high tops before I show up in stilettos.
Sneaker geeks.
You need to know who you're working with. And I've even told people like, I might drop a couple F-bombs, but like I got your back and I'm going to get it repaired for you. And that's all that matters. So people laugh, but they like it.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So first off, how was 2024? And then what are you forecasting for 2025? Like, what do you see in the market right now? What are you noticing? Any changes or?
It should.
Do you mean like how 2024, if we love 2024, if we hated it, what do you mean?
Yeah.
So
like what was the year like in real estate in 2024?
For us.
I mean, it was awesome. We had a great 2024.
I think it was really cool to see. So it was our first full year under our own brokerage. You know, we left kind of at the end, or we opened up at the end of 2023. So 2024, we're like, all right, it's all us. Like it's kind of a now or never thing. And seeing how much people really came out to support us because it was us. They knew 100% they were, you know, backing. That I think was awesome. Even conversations, you know, people were hesitant and hate to say, you know, it was an election year. A lot of people were nervous around the election. So we heard a lot of that. But just knowing that, like, they still came to us for conversations like, hey, it might not be till next year, but what should I do around the house? We had a lot of calls like that.
Yeah.
What repairs should I do? What are things I should be working on? You know, so we're excited to see 2025, all those things kind of come to fruition now.
Right.
People, they're ready.
Or people that were ready, but their houses, they couldn't get as much as they wanted to. And instead of lying, saying, hey, let's put it there. You want to get that much for it? Let's do it.
Yeah.
We'd be like, you're not going to get it. There's no way you're going to get it. You need to do this, 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 and this. And we're going to be the first ones to tell you, don't spend 50 grand on your house and expect you're going to get the same return. You should really make a profit if you're going to do anything. And if we can't make that promise, we're never going to recommend like a full remodel, which some of these houses, they needed that tough conversation. And it sucks because you hate to be the bearer of bad news. But the reality is, if we can't get you what we say we're going to get you, we'd rather not take the listing and you try that with another agent and then come back to us when you're ready to really make it roll and make the money that we promised.
We don't like false promises.
Yeah. It all comes down to trust, right? I mean, you build that trust by having that.
Well, and even tough conversations across the board. I mean, we had I would say a new one for the dollhouse. The agent on the other side sometimes was available, but then you talk to another agent, but he was one of the angriest people we have ever encountered. Ever. And I mean ever.
Yeah.
Just an angry bird all around. And very arrogant and condescending and like all the things you could possibly imagine. We're like, what is going on with you? And
I'm like, are you having a bad day?
We called him out on it. And then we started talking to his other person. But and then a deal ended up going cold. And then we resurrected it. And then we ended up getting it to closing and feel very good about it. But that would be our biggest challenge of 2024 was I had everything that guy, that transaction to make it work because he could have aligned the first time around, but he was just like, it
was an ego situation. And I mean, you know, we get that in this industry too. And it's like, I've been in this industry longer than you, And it almost felt like he wasn't used to negotiating anymore because he was so used to 2020 to 2023 and sellers just got what they wanted on day one. And this listing had been on the market for 2 months and we were not giving them list price. And it was like we hurt his feelings. Who knows what the seller was even thinking? Like, I hurt his feelings personally. You could feel it. And
Well, we
like,
found out later communication
gosh.
wasn't going to the very client
Okay.
that we were having. So this could have been done and closed months before, but the agent took upon himself to just not relay information to his client.
Yeah, that's a problem.
That's what's nuts.
That's a problem. Yeah.
Yeah, we're talking like in the millions, you know? So it's
Yeah.
like luxury situations and they're still not doing their clients a service. And it's like, okay.
Tough to hear.
It's,
Tough to hear.
yeah, that was the toughest challenge of 2024 was that transaction.
Well, while we're on tough things, like what are some things that I think as entrepreneurs, as business owners, like you're always looking for ways to improve your business. So what are some of the challenges or some of the things that you're looking forward to growing in 2025?
For me personally, it's accepting that we can't wear all the hats and that now that we do have the brokerage and things like that, maybe we don't need to do everything. So like leaning into what I enjoy, and I enjoy talking to people and dealing with people. I don't enjoy emails and things like that. So I think maybe embracing letting go of some control and seeing how we grow from there. Because I know we're going to grow. We're going to. It'll be great. But I need to let go.
It's hard though. Like she and I are very different. Ashley and I are very different people.
Oh, yin and yang.
But we work and we also get each other. And so, but finding people that can be on the same level in terms of just understanding how you do your work.
Like what we've created
so
the last
hard.
9 years.
But it was so
Like
natural.
explaining it
But
to
everything
people.
we did was so natural together.
Yeah. Yeah. And having to explain it to an assistant, I'm like, oh no. Or like, I like that, but Giselle doesn't like it that way, you know? Like, so almost like without feeling needy, but reminding myself like, oh, I'm paying them to do a job type thing. So I think almost getting out of the mindset shift of like, I know we work on commission, so I don't like people wasting my time, but like realizing I'm not wasting other people's time or using my time better. That's what I need to get better at.
Yeah. Talk to me about the differences between your two work styles and how that meshes together. Like what is that process?
She's a little more cold-blooded. Yeah. I'm more nurturing.
I'm the bulldog of the team for sure. For sure.
When it comes to like a hard conversation, I'll come at it softer. She'll come at it like, like we'll get the punch the punch will get there. It's how the punch is delivered. But also that has to be adjusted towards the client too. Because
Absolutely.
some people,
I'm not for everybody.
you really have to change how you speak to people and even in the vocabulary that you use for people to understand it for when you're having a hard conversation. Because it's not that we're trying to be mean. It's not that we're siding with anybody. It's just putting the facts out there and us giving our opinion. But however, at the end of the day, you get to decide whatever you want. This is your house, your money. So it's just making sure we're articulating where we're coming from a good place here and we're trying to help you win.
Yeah.
But sometimes it's hard to receive information.
We base it on the client. I mean, we have our own clients, obviously. We both don't handle every transaction. So, like, I don't know all her clients. She doesn't know all of mine. But there's certain times, like, if we're double dipping, what we call it, like, if we're helping them buy and sell, if there's, like, a really hard situation, maybe, that's kind of where I come in. Or if there's someone that really needs hand-holding and it just is getting on my nerves and I don't have the patience for it that day, like that's where she's fantastic at that. And then everything in between there, though, too. Like, I think there's certain topics like you bring more spicy to than I do, but we always balance each other. And communication, I mean, especially opening a business, there's going to be a lot of hard conversations that you have to have, like insurance, money, all your fees. Like you have to have these hard conversations. And I think us just having the mutual respect with how we communicate it has been key. Because there's been a few situations that I'm sure other people would have just had, a fight about and maybe blew up everything. But we were like, okay, let's take a step back. That's not what I meant by this. Maybe, let's approach it differently. And I think that's where we accommodate our communication skills. I'm like, okay, I need to be nicer about this.
Yeah, probably plenty of opportunities to show humility and set the ego aside.
Easily. But we'll call each other on our shit too,
I was going to say that's where I think, and we are actually just talking about this a couple of days ago, just we feel very fortunate that we have a communication with each other in an industry like this because it can be really tough. And then the fact that we talk every day.
Yeah. We don't see each other every day, but we talk like 5 times a day.
We talk a lot. It could be personal, it could be business. But the fact, and sometimes we're just like, what do you need? Like my glass is almost full today. Like, do you need me?
Yeah.
It's like, no.
It's like the Brene Brown.
What do you need then? Like, what can I take off your hands today? Do you want me to work on some emails for you? What did you need to do today? I have it. That's another thing that I love is just being full-time, and we do have families. You get extended for different reasons, but if somebody's feeling a little full that day, we'll be the first to be like, I need your help. I need you to take this right now.
Yeah. I mean, what was it the other day? I was just like, no, I canceled. And you were like, you good? Like, it wasn't like immediately mad, but it was like, yeah, I had a lot going on my plate personally, not work related. It's just family and children and sick kids and just, the world. And I was just like, no, I was not really like in the place to be productive, but her immediate response was like, you good? Where other people had been like, what the hell? We have an appointment. Like, that's where I think it really makes a huge difference.
Yeah, totally. So when you think of the business that you've built, right, you talked about betting on yourself, right? Opening your own brokerage. Like, what are you most proud of over 10-year career now?
This year's my 10-year anniversary.
Okay. 10-year career. What are you most proud of with?
I think I would say one of the things I'm most proud of is the amount of repeat clients that I get. And the amount of people even, because I got my license at 25. Like, it's hard for people to trust a 25-year-old in a transaction, but the amount of people that have trusted me with that and then have continued to trust me on the repeat side and then trust her to handle the sale. But also their parents are also coming to us now. And I feel like that is a huge compliment.
When they're abuelitos.
Yes. Like that to you referring like the people you love and trust most to us is the biggest compliment in the world.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's definitely awesome. But I would say that we continue to grow both professionally and personally. And I love that I have a partner that the growth is happening together. I think that we all have a lot of friends and we have a lot of acquaintances, but to find somebody that you really connect with and to be able to create what we're creating is freaking awesome. I had another word for it, but
you can let it fly.
It's pretty, because
there's no restrictions on you.
I mean, so we got married the same year. So we were planning our weddings at the same time. We had our first babies at the same time in the middle of a pandemic.
Well, we always said maternity leave, no question. Like, you were going to have that time off and you're not going to be bothered for 3 months. And no money's going to be lost. No, not like everything business as usual. And I would call her and I go, hey, by the way, I'm pregnant. She's like, oh my God, that's awesome. Almost 3 months on the nose. So, hey, girl, I'm pregnant. No way. And I was coming. And so when she was I was coming back from maternity leave the next day. She calls me that night before and is like, and I'm on my way to the hospital.
That was 7 weeks early.
She was a bit early.
We were supposed to have a window in between, not like we planned our pregnancies, but it worked out so well that you were going to be coming back in like early December because Elisa was born September. And then we were going to have a cushion and be like, okay, here's the business, da-da-da-da. No. Yeah, she got a call from the hospital, I think from my husband. Yep. So, I was like, oh my God. But it worked out.
That's awesome.
Yeah. I don't remember why we went there.
Communication.
So, what else? Well, let's touch on this real quick. So, what is the vision for the team? Like, what are you looking to accomplish? What's kind of the vision for this year and beyond?
Yeah. So the first year, we weren't really wanting to take on other agents or grow because we have to be responsible for them.
Figure out.
We had a lot of stuff to figure out. We had a lot of things going on. And then ultimately, like, you're the managing broker, like, you need to be available for training, to answer questions, help write contracts, all those things. I was not in a place to do that last year. So we were very realistic about that. But I think now we've got our bearings. We would like to bring on other people.
But
I'll be honest,
and they have to, and honestly, we're
experience. I don't want to train
groom
people.
them. We don't want to groom them. And if people want to join our brokerage, it's going to be more people that know what they're doing, and we want to make sure that they're ethical.
Yes.
There's a lot of agents that we've worked with, which unfortunately we're just like, what are you doing? And we don't want that to be a part of our bubble.
Yeah. And I don't want to spend the time training you type thing. I think if we were to expand, one day we do want to get a brick and mortar. We don't have that right now. We both have great home offices and we don't feel the need for it. But I think one day we will get there. And probably grow. But I think if anything, it'd be more like an EXP situation, like kind of a little more independent hybrid type thing. Not like if you're looking to come to the office for that camaraderie, that we're not for you, But some people really like that. So that's where like I had an agent actually reach out to us right when we opened and she was very interested in coming over and she had a whole team and yada, yada. And I was asking her more questions. And while let's be honest, we could have made good money from this whole team coming over. It was like 6 inexperienced agents. And I was like, holy red flag. I'm not ready to be reliable for that. And she like couldn't believe that I didn't want it. And I was just like, that's just not a responsibility I'm wanting to take on right now.
We know what we can chew and we know what we can't.
And how we want to spend our
the
time.
capacity for it.
Yeah.
Well, just the mental capacity, the physical capacity, because you know real estate. You're on 24/7. You don't have a day off. You have a lot of freedom, but it's not the same thing. And then you have to tack on all these people and all these questions, and then you're responsible for all these people. It was definitely not in our bucket for last year.
Yeah. So maybe, in the future. We're cruising.
Happy.
Yeah, I think the whole goal of us opening the brokerage was like, we like what we do and we really like each other and we make good money on our independent side. So like, we're not in a huge hurry to build a big office. In the end game, yeah. I'd like to retire by 55. So
There we go.
end game. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Anything else we should touch on?
I don't know. You tell me.
I think we hit all our big hitter points.
So last question, I ended every episode with this. What's the most impactful book or podcast, or your favorite book or podcast that comes to mind?
Do you want to go first?
No, I'll go first. So I've been reading a lot of smut lately, so that's always enjoyable for all your readers out there, audiobook lovers. But no, for real, an oldie but a goodie. It's by Pete Hamill, and it's called Forever. And there's a little bit of mysticism in it, but it's also like the history from Ireland and then the beginnings of how Manhattan started and the types of how like the Rockefellers and all these things and this guy and time. And it's just a really neat book. It's beautifully written. I'm a big book nerd, so but I like a little bit of everything, like I had mentioned with my smut and my Pete Hamill. So
She's the reader of the group. That's the yin and yang. I don't read.
You're like, oh,
I mean, keeping my attention is not a lot. So what I have started to do, because I'm like, it's good for your brain. Obviously, you need to read more. So I've started this app called Headway. And what it does is it allows you different topics, what you want to go into. So I'll go in and be like, hey, I want to look into like money investment right now. And then you pick a couple books and it'll break down the most impactful chapters and give you like a quick little 10-minute segment. So you can either read that or you can listen to it. So I like doing that. Like if I'm doing my makeup in the morning and I'll just put it on play and I'll listen to it while I'm getting ready. So it kind of like gets my mindset.
get a few nuggets.
Yeah, you know, like,
Points.
because let's be real, I can read a book and I'll read the same page like 4 times over and over, and I don't really comprehend it all. So I'm like, I'm not even like processing what I'm reading. Yeah. But then the app, now I'm like, okay, that little nugget that took 4 pages to teach you, I just learned it in like a second. So that's my approach.
There you go. That's awesome.
I'm learning. So it's okay.
Well, it's been great getting to know you all a little bit better and know more about your business. You know,
Thanks for having us.
for taking the time and being on the podcast. I know. Well, one last question.
Make it a good one.
Promise this is the last time. I'll say that. For agents that are aspiring to be in your position or build a business similar to yours, like what piece of advice would you give them?
Be yourself.
Yeah.
Be yourself and believe in that. No matter what the obstacle comes, there's always going to be obstacles, but don't let anybody try to challenge your personality.
Yeah. I think it's really easy in this industry. That's why, I mean, there's a million realtors. Think about it. Everybody knows like at least 5. So at the end of the day, you're going to choose like, who do I like with? Who do I relate to? Things like that. So yeah, I think being yourself will get you a long way, because there's people that will fake it and they'll put on a persona, because everybody says fake it till you make it. And you might look around one day and you have a thriving business, but you hate your life and you hate this version of yourself. So I think one of our goals was just be true to ourselves. And I think if you do that, you'll
Who
succeed.
you are is who you attract.
Exactly. You'll work with who you like.
That's great. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
We'll see you on the next episode.